For Factorial Plus, we're going to try to create a ETL process for them. And the basic steps are from this basic model here, as you can see. And they get into it. First is the extract, where you take the data from the outside sources or whatever data sources that you're trying to get that may or may not be a set method for how you want to do. Then you move along to transform that data into the type of data that you're ultimately going to want to put into your data warehouse. This can also go through multiple things like the data profiling tool. At this point, will take the data and make sure it goes through all the business results and everything to get the data be more accurate. Then you move to the load phase, where you take the data that you have just transformed and then you load it into the source that's going to, in this case of this one, the data warehouse itself. And once there, then the data can be taken and added to the data marts or however the method that will be utilized. And with this modeling going forward, this is the model basis that I came up with for the ETL process. As I said, the data will go through the data profiling tool on the first time through of the ETL process, and then every time you're gathering data, it'll make sure the new data is brought through and goes through and remains accurate. The database that's going to be used that I propose is an Amazon RDS accompanied with an Amazon Redshift, and that's to make sure the data is it's in the cloud, so it's easily accessible and easily to give the data from multiple sources, not just at one set state. So then when the data is initially done from each store, you can have it uploaded directly to the cloud, which then you can take the data and then the people in the business sector can analyze that data as it's coming and get it faster and quicker, better results. The data administration would be handled by a database administrator. This would be made slightly easier to help from the Amazon RDS itself, because it has some built-in features to help the database administration and make everything a lot more easy and do a lot more things that will help them along, such as it does backup security and performance that it'll do on its own, or make it easy for them to do where normally it might be a little bit more difficult. Due to how the manner of the data is coming, the data virtualization is not going to be utilized for Factorial Plus, because all of the results that are going to come in are going to go through, as it says on this business plan. The data itself will then be given to the business intelligence, who will make a report, and that report will have all the information that Factorial Plus needs. A lot of the other users won't need any of the excess information. The master data management will be handled with a uniform approach for how the data is initialized on scan, and then the data will be traveled to the database after going through the ETL process and cleaning it up if needed. The key is to ensure that the data stays uniform and how it's categorized upon its inception, which allows the main database to store it and use with accuracy for reports. The metadata needs to be kept with the same level of strictly made rules. Keeping the data uniform company-wide will help the data stay accurate. Using the cloud database allows that, and all the data is linked easily, as well as the added benefits. The basic models that would be used for Factorial Plus initially is this, and you can see how it's very basic and doesn't have a lot of information to be gathered too easily. And my proposed model is to take the data and turn it into more exact measurements to be able to be identified and create a better source for the business intelligence to come up with what they're trying to do. Obtaining the business requirements is not too difficult a task. There's multiple ways that it can be handled, and that's where we're going to get into. First is just to conduct interviews, either one by one or in a group, and you want to set up a set of structured questions to really narrow down exactly what you're trying to find out, and then end the final process with what they think would lead to success. Next method is questionnaire, and you send this out to all the people that you feel it would be most useful for getting the information from, and then you can tailor the questionnaire based on who you're sending it to, or just have a blanket questions for it. And the same thing at the end, add a little what do you think for success, where they can send it back within the guidelines of when they do the task. And the last is to brainstorm. Brainstorm, just getting all the people that the company thinks are who needs to be in the room, also who you would think would need to be in the room, and brainstorm ideas for what needs to be the focus for everything, what they're trying to narrow down and what leads to success. What excess tools do I think would be useful for Factorial Plus? The first would be a data modeling tool. And to get this, the suggested modeling tool is the ER Studio, and the best thing for this is to be able to adjust the ETL pipeline or any of the data structure. And you can also do this with a visual, so the ease of learning for this can be made more simple, and then it can adjust to make things better. The next one is a data profiling tool, and this will just make the data cleaner, more accurate, and more focused on what the business requirements are and everything, and ensure, and it's especially from the first time of taking the data in from the ETL process initially, putting it through data profile, making sure everything is as it intended to be, and then every time it goes and collects data, it just goes through and cycles through and guarantees that when you're taking these data and putting them into the business intelligence, that you're getting the most accurate results from everything. Data governance is something that really needs to be striven for, because it'll keep your data in with a uniform standards, and then sets your tools to help out with this at the same time. So all these things together will help keep the data more streamlined, keep it how it's intended to be, keep it accurate, and keep it to exactly the methods that you intended to be within the database to be able to work with other data, so that you don't have to worry about having data that's not correct for your BI to get inaccurate results, and just keeping everything clean and the best method for this possible.